Welcome to the Business and Bubbly podcast. This is the place for women in business who are on the journey of building their big ideas and want to have fun along the way. It's for those of us who also know we aren't meant to do business or life alone. Hi, I'm Charity Majors, your host and the founder of Business and Bubbly. Think of this kind of like the can I pick your brain chats that you've always wanted to have with those who are doing epic things, plus business besties, hype girls, and getting into massive action towards your next big idea all in the same place. Oh, and bubbles, because if you're not having fun along the way, you're not doing it right. Together, we'll unlock what it means to be seen, known, heard, and championed all along the ups and downs of entrepreneurship and being a woman in business building big dreams. Each week, I'll bring you a quick sip business tip, as well as interviews from top experts that make you feel like you're getting bottle service for your business. We're having the raw and real conversations and chatting about all the things, the messy middle, the pivots, scaling, the good days and the bad days, because here we do real. It's where we can work hard, play hard, cry it out, and dance it out all at the same time without being judged. This is a place where we are in the arena together and we are each other's biggest fans because most of us have enough comments from the cheap seats. It's where our too much is par for the course and where the gaps of our not enough are filled in by the other epic women that are around us. It's where we can be unapologetic about the mission we are on, about the big dreams on our heart, and the business we are building without having to be perfect or have it all together, or even pretend to. It's a supportive community where business is being done amongst like-minded women, because when money gets in the hands of good women, great things happen. It's a place where you have the support around you to get out of your comfort zone and go after your big ideas, because even when you fail forward or when you reach the top, you know it won't be alone. Also, if you know anything about me, you'll know that I'm obsessed with creating platforms that lift up other women to be seen and heard and known. So with that in mind, I'd like to invite you to list your business on our directory called Find Women in Business. All you've got to do is text the word directory to 833-231-8098, and I'll text you the link back to get your free listing. This is also a great way to connect with other women in business from around the world, so definitely check it out. And now let's get to the good stuff. Grab a glass of your favorite beverage, Prosecco, bubbly water, or whatever your flavor is, and let's dive in. Are you with me? Here we go. Welcome to the show. I'm super excited for you guys to be here today. And we have a special guest. Now, you know those women who you have maybe seen online and you're like, oh, we would totally be friends. And then you meet in real life and you go to lunch and all of a sudden you're like, oh, we are totally best friends. That is what Heather Sharpe, she is just for sure my people. And we have had the opportunity to connect not only here in Boise, she's a local influencer and an incredible web designer, but we quickly found out behind the scenes that we aligned on a lot of really great topics, and our lunch went way longer than what it should have.
Yes.
We had a really great time. So Heather, thanks for being here. I'm excited to connect with you even more and to share you with the rest of the Business and Bubbly community.
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here. And yes, our lunch, we'll have to have another one of those soon. That was fun.
For sure. It was too good not to have more.
It was pretty good.
Well, I'm excited to share. Not only, I know you have an incredible story of what got you to where you're at now as this website famous web creator. website builder. But I know that it wasn't always like that. So I'd actually love for you to
Yeah.
share a little bit more of what got you to this point, right? Because with Business and Bubbly, right, like, yes, we are about business, and like Bubbly, we rise. But to have the moment of the rise, we also realize that we can be real and authentic about our kind of the rock bottom moment that was a part of our journey that we're able to share, because here we do real. And yes, like they're going to learn how amazing of a web designer that you are, but I would love for them to hear a little bit about your backstory and what got you to this point.
Yes, let's do that. I do have one of those stories actually. So,
So good. It's so good.
so way back in the day when I realized that working for someone else was just not my jam. Like I wanted to build my own business. I started a wedding planning business in Seattle. And I loved that. It was great. But then I came to this moment where I was like, I want to have kids. Like, I want to start a family. I don't want to be working long weekends every day. And so I started a wedding blog that I built from scratch. My background is in writing. And so I kind of combined my love for writing and my love for being creative with a job that I could do from home and raise my kids, and they could be playing on the floor at my feet. And it was just going to be this amazing adventure for me. And about, I would say 7 years into that, I was approached by someone who noticed what I had built, and they wanted to help me launch it off to this next level blog, this empire of sorts. And it sounded great. And so, like a lot of us, someone comes and they notice something that we did, and they want to be a part of that. It's like, wow, me? Like, that's amazing. And so, come to find out that this person wasn't what they said. Um, Long story short, I got a call one day from a lawyer who basically said, in a nutshell, your blog is ours now, and you are no longer a part of it.
Mm.
And I had this moment where I watched all of the income, all 8 years. I'm actually getting a little teary, so I'm going to try to, rein that in. But everything that I had built and sweat and everything, my kids, my family, in that second, it was completely gone.
Yeah.
And I had little kids, that was my sole income. I am the breadwinner of our family. And I was literally in the dark. This is charity. This is some therapy here. But in that moment, I had a choice to make. It was, okay, you have bills, you have kids, you have to do something. And I'm not going to say that I didn't have days where, I sat in the dark crying, because I did.
Totally.
But, at some point, in the dark, you have to find flashlights. You have to find your way out.
Yeah.
And so I sat there and I was like, okay, what do I have? What are my skills? What have I been doing for 8 years? And it led me to designing websites and realizing that I have been doing something that I can offer to business owners. It was successful. I can do it again. And so that's what I did.
Wow. So amazing. And you're doing great. This is, again, I actually love that you teared up and shared, like, revealed your heart. And, because I know I have absolutely been in those moments too, where it's like everything seems dark, and it's like the ugly cry moment on the bathroom floor.
Yes.
Where you can't see your way out. And it's almost like, yes, like you either find the flashlight to like see the light at the end of the tunnel, or you become the light to like see the light,
Absolutely.
to get
Yeah.
through the tunnel.
Yep.
And I know there are listeners that are out there that they're probably maybe even right where you're at, where they're faced with a choice, to where something, right, maybe they're forced to pivot in their business, or things have fallen apart, or they launched the thing and it got crickets and it didn't end up how they thought it was going to.
Yeah.
And like, that's real. And that sometimes is business. And like,
Yes.
man, like as much as it stinks, like that's a part of it. And we
Yeah.
get to be stronger on the other side. So I'd love to know,
Yeah.
before we get into like website best practices and that type of a thing, what were some of the lessons that you learned in that season?
Yeah. So I think definitely just protecting what's yours. In hindsight, it's so funny. My husband says to me so often, he's like, I know that moment you were just, so angry and just like, how could this person do this to me, this and that and the other? But it's the best thing that happened to you and our family. And that it's weird years later to be able to say thank you to that person. I don't know if this is what you asked. I'm sorry. I might have gone off on a tangent just now. But I think, it's yes, protecting what's yours, but also a big thing for me is everything happens for a reason. So I, a lot of times, like when you're stuck in traffic or something really annoying is happening and you're going to be late, I often will say, and this has helped me in business, and kind of, I have a point here, I promise, but there's a reason you're not supposed to be over there right now. Like, you're stuck in traffic. It's annoying. You're going to be late, but there's a reason you're not over there. And I think about that a lot in my business. And I do hold on to that. Like, if a project is going slower than I'd like, there is something right around the corner and there's a reason why it's taking longer. And a lot of times I will learn a new skill the very next week and I'll be like, there it is. Like, I'm going to apply that here. And this client may have had to wait an extra week, but look at what I made. Look at what happened because of it. So I think that has helped me a lot as a business owner. Is that
so good?
Okay?
I love that. And I think that when we can look back on our story intentionally, like the hard times, there's always a lesson if we are intentional to find it. Otherwise, we might just like repeat that lesson, right? It's kind of I'm going to go around this mountain again, and this same lesson is showing up in a different way because I haven't quite learned it the way that I need.
We're supposed to learn it. Exactly.
Yes, we're supposed to learn it, and we're also meant to not just go around the mountain, but go up the mountain.
Yeah.
And what that only happens when we look back on intention. I love what you said, to where you were able to actually see like one of the hardest rock bottom moments of your life, and actually now go back and look at it with gratitude.
Yeah.
Like, that is when you know that you have your story, that it doesn't have you.
Yeah.
And you have pulled the gold nuggets from a really messy situation.
Yeah.
And that's the good stuff, man. That's
I agree. It takes a while sometimes, but when you get there, it feels really great.
So good. So when it comes to even just doing business with other people, whether it's friends, family, I'm not sure how close you were to this other person. I know some of the advice that I have received, like especially if you're going into business with friends, is to protect your friendship with the contracts. Right?
Yes. Yes.
What were maybe some looking back,
some
of the lessons that you learned when it came to partnerships in business?
So I think the one takeaway from that, and I'm not saying this is for everyone. I know there are a lot of people that can go and they can trust another person and make that happen. For me personally, when I dragged myself out of that mucky, disgusting, just blackness, I really, in that moment, I think realized that depending on me going forward for things when it comes to business, and for better or worse, like there are, of course, pros and cons to what I decided for me. But for me personally, it's I won't partner again. That feeling of, I don't know that I could do that again. I'll be honest. Like, I think that there are a lot of tricks in our bags and a lot of things, flashlights we can find in the dark. But I think for me, like, I really dug deep in that Mary Poppins bag. Like, I was really digging. And so for me personally, I have learned that that isn't my path. Like, partnership for me is not in business. Like, that's not for me. Friendship, yes. Like, let's be friends. Let's go out to lunch. Partnership, business for me, like, I really hold that close now. And I keep that just for me by myself.
Yeah.
But
So
I
good.
get to work with a lot of great people, which feels like a partnership. So that is definitely a great thing about what I do, for sure.
Yeah, I love that. That's so great. And we all get to really decide like okay, am I going into, like co-founding something or co-building something, or am I working with people, or like, I'm just doing my thing and I'm going to keep like my proprietary things to myself.
Yes.
And right. I love that. So I want to go into a little bit of the moment where you were like, okay, what the heck am I good at? And how can I build something from this thing that completely fell apart? And maybe if someone is listening and they're finding themselves in that moment where either they're pivoting or they're revamping something, how did you find or remind yourself of the things that you were good at that you could build a business from?
Yep. So when I decided to pick myself up off the floor, so to speak, and just like, bills were piling up, it was time. It was like, okay, you've cried. Now it's time.
Yeah.
There were, I basically sat down and I wrote down a list of all of the skills that they couldn't take from me. So they can take my blog, fine, but they can't take me. And I created that blog. And so I sat down and wrote down, okay, you're a writer. Great. You get to take that with you.
Yeah.
You're creative. That's yours. You have a great eye. You have relationships. Relationships for me was the biggest thing, because when I built my blog, all of these, it was a wedding and fashion blog. So all of these wedding professionals, like, we're talking like big names. They liked me because I worked with them and I valued our relationship. And so when I didn't have that anymore, they still liked me, the person. And so those things, and then my design background and designing websites, I built my entire blog with my own two hands. And so all of that, take the blog, fine. Is it heartbreaking? Yes, it is heartbreaking, but I get to keep myself, and I get to keep all of the things that I've acquired being me, and the relationship. So that was, a big turning point for me when I came to that realization.
I love that. So because Business and Bubbly, obviously with our networking events and the way that we really connect and cultivate community, relationships is a huge thing for us. So what would you say were one of the maybe some key points that really helped you develop some valuable and meaningful relationships in business?
So people might not like to hear this, but for me, I started before social media. So like, I started when you pick up the phone and you literally put yourself in a position to be like, hey, you want to work together with your voice? I know that sounds insane. But like, I joined Twitter and it was beta. I joined Pinterest and it was beta, Instagram, like all of that to me was like, okay, what's this? So I think for me, I would say the robot relationships, and I know it's not robot, like I know when you reach out to someone on an Instagram message, you're truly having a conversation. But I think for me,
the digital relationship,
exactly. I think for me though, something that I'm very grateful for is that I did start a lot of those relationships like you and I are right now. We're talking, we're having lunch, like we're seeing each other in real life. And I know that's not always possible. And I'm certainly not trying to say, to have a real relationship, you have to go out to lunch. Like, I know that's not reality all the time. But I definitely do take with the time that I started as a business owner and what we were given at that time to form relationships with. So I think that that's something important to remember. We don't own Instagram. We don't own that platform. We are borrowing it.
Yeah.
We don't own Facebook, so you have to kind of hone in and also remember, like, okay, if they decide to shut down Instagram,
Yeah.
what will I do? And I remind myself that a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, that's so good. I know. And that's such a valuable point for our listeners to remember. I know for me, I've had a couple times where either whether it was Instagram or Facebook got hacked into and I lost access. I was able to finally get it back. But one of my main Facebook profile, who I had maxed out on the 5,000 friend list, I had almost 20,000 followers, all these Facebook groups. It was connected to my business page that had all the pixel information from ads, hacked into,
Oh,
blocked, completely shut down, lost it all.
terrible.
Right?
Scary, right? I mean,
And it's like, we have to be mindful that we're understanding that these amazing platforms, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, all this stuff, but it's rented real estate, right? It's not a true business asset unless you own the email addresses or the text message, the on your text list or your email list, and those true meaningful relationships, heart to heart, soul to soul. You're in a pinch. Who can you call? Whose number do you have? You're like, call your girl in the ugly cry moment on the bathroom floor to give you the pep talk to get you out, or to bring you the champagne or the ice cream, sit with you, allow you to feel, allow you to be in that space, and tell you, all right, here's a flashlight, girl. Like, I'm with you. Let's get back up and let's do this thing.
Absolutely. Yeah. I always tell my clients, you have to diversify. I have so many clients who are like, I have Instagram. Why do I need a website? Well, you don't own that. If they change their algorithm tomorrow, like Facebook did when I had Facebook business pages, you are in a pickle. And people will try to find you if you've done a good job of creating your reputation and getting the word out about what you offer. But if they can't find you on Instagram, where are they going to go? They're going to look for you online. And so it's really important to just don't put all your eggs in the social media platform basket. Like, you have to be doing, holistic is what I call it, a holistic business plan, using all of the things that we have at our disposal.
So good. So let's just kind of keep going with this flow of what we're talking about with what does it look like to have that holistic, I would say, whether it's not the holistic business plan or the places where people can find you. How do you advise your clients on having those?
Yeah. So my biggest thing with my clients is keep momentum going. So if you're on Instagram and it's beautiful, you have all these amazing photos and your reels are kicking it and like you're doing great, that excitement should not die if they go somewhere else. So we're talking to your website, reviews from clients, Facebook, I don't know if that's still a thing, it's Facebook, right? So if you're branding yourself and people are excited about you, I guess Instagram right now would be like the it thing, right? Like that's the it social media platform. And it does get people stoked to find out more about you. And if they do this, right? Oh, view website. Let's see. And then they go, oh, that's not the same message that I was just given. Wah, wah. Exactly. It kills it. They're not going to be as excited about you, and vice versa. If you have a beautiful website and it's just like getting all the oohs and ahs, and then they're like, oh, they're on Instagram. Let's go look. And they click on that and it's just like, what the heck? This isn't the same message I just was given.
Totally.
It's all about just keeping the momentum consistent. Consistency is extremely important to me in my life and my relationships with my friends. And it's very important too in a branding message for your business.
Yeah. So good. So when it comes to someone's website, which again, this is like now the platform that you own, so not your social media, which is what you rent,
Yeah.
but your website, which you control, you own, what are some best practices that you would share with the listeners?
Yes. So, there are a number of things that I kind of take as my ownership when I'm designing a website for a client. But the one thing that the client kind of has to bring in with them are images. So images are key. You think about Instagram as you're scrolling, you're deciding if you like something in half a second. It's really is that quick. So, I'm not going to heart something I don't like. And then maybe I'll slow down a little if I really, really like it. And maybe I'll comment. With a website, you're working with about 5 seconds or less. So it's a little bit more time than Instagram, but really it's not that much. So photography is going to be key. Fonts, dated fonts will kill a vibe. I would say photography, fonts, and then of course usability. So if I'm on a website and I can't find how to contact you or what you even do or where, I'm going to be frustrated. I'm going to bounce out, which is going to increase your bounce rate, which is bad. And then, you're just dead in the water. So it's all about user experience optimization, which is UEO. And UEO is the temperature for SEO, which tells Google if your website is important enough for them to factor in to searches.
Okay. So let's dive into some SEO secrets.
Okay. So SEO is a very old school kind of thinking about searching and you find, right? I search, the editor's touch, and I'm going to get things. I search wedding photographers in Boise, I'm going to get things. What I focus on for my clients is that middle step, which is called UEO. And what UEO does is it creates a website that renders page views. So when my clients have a visitor on their website, and that visitor is like, oh my gosh, this is so beautiful. This is a magical place. I want to see more and more. They are creating page views, which means they're doing the work for your optimization on your website. And so when I devise a strategy for my clients, is always about UEO, always. Because what I want is for, let's say you get 3 visitors to your website, right? People are going to be like, that's nothing, like 3 visitors. Okay. But what if 2 of them hire you? What if all 3 of them reach out to you and you are given the opportunity to like close a deal? That's huge right there, because then that's 3 mouths out there talking about you. And then they talk to more people. And then those are more mouths, So I'm always about quality over quantity.
Yeah.
And loving all of it oodles and oodles. Like, I want to see more. I want to see their portfolio. I want to go see their contact page. I want to read all about them. So that is where my focus lies for my clients. And it's been a pretty good, the feedback's been very nice. I'll just say that.
Nice. So when it comes to like some of the UEOs, what are maybe a couple things that if someone's listening to this and they're like, crap, I don't even, okay, I get the concept, but how do I do this on my website besides like, yes, like hiring Heather?
Sure. So call to actions are big. Using phrases that engage your audience. So a lot of times in the navigation, of course, I like to dumb it down as much as I can. So we have home, about, contact, right? So like that top navigation should just be what people are expecting to see.
Yeah.
But then as they're scrolling, and mobile is definitely different than desktop. You want to make sure you have a mobile optimized website. That's going to be key for user experience optimization. But having visuals and call to actions that engage your reader. So maybe on the navigation it says contact, but then maybe as you're scrolling it says, let's connect, or let's, whatever cute wording that you want to come up with. So call to actions are very good. And then that photography. So like if someone goes into your website and they're like, ooh, and they leave right away, that's what's called a bounce rate. And that means that Google is saying, oh, people are going, but then they leave. Like, obviously, this website either A, isn't what it's saying it is, or people just aren't finding what they were after. So we're going to mark it as a really low score. So you want people to visit 2 to 3 pages. Ideally, my goal is always 3 to 5 pages per visitor. So it's all about engagement.
Nice. Now, what would you say the big difference is between, well, actually, first I want to go back to what you were saying about the navigation bar. I learned that the hard way, where I tried to get all fancy with the little names of what I had up there. And it's like, no, just don't try and reinvent the wheel sometimes in some things.
And I get it. People want to be creative. I totally see that. But the best place, like if I'm giving, advice to people, the best place to be creative is within the call to actions on the actual page, and leave the navigation bar very boring, very to the point, because there are people who actively look in those places to find where they want to go.
Yeah, I love that. And I'll even just put in this little nugget for free is don't get all super fancy with your program names. This has nothing to do with website, but right, like how you name your programs or whatever it is. I was working with an old client and she was amazing, and she changed this, thank God, but she came into my coaching program, and she had it was like it was like called the Soaring Eagle or something like that. And I'm like, what is that? Like, okay, like, and it meant a lot to her. Like it was this thing, like a symbolized something or other to her. And it, like, she had to like go in and explain like the whole meaning of the program.
The rest of us are like, what is
this? If you have to explain the meaning of your program, you're like trying to convince someone to take your thing. Like, no, like just
exactly. I agree with you. Things that mean a lot to us personally, yes, they're, that's sentimental and it's great, but business needs to be, like I said, that 5-second or under mark. It needs to hit them and be exciting to them, or be not their thing, and then they're out of there and they're not your client. But the questioning and the what's this, like, going to be helpful.
Yes, a confused reader, a confused buyer leaves, and they're not going to do anything with it. So
exactly.
Awesome. So what would be your maybe like a top 1 or 2 tips for business owners when it comes to their website? So yes, the images, yes, the fonts, or maybe some good calls to actions, or even like some what not to do on their website.
Things to do for sure. Alt text is going to be your friend. So when and alt text is what an image is named. And so a lot of people, like, let's say you're a florist, right? In, I don't know, the Treasure Valley, for instance, and you have a pink peony bouquet and you put it on your website. Naming it a pink peony bouquet seems the obvious alt text to use, but you actually don't want to do that, because that means something to everyone. And what you want to do is you want to define what you do, where you do it, and why people need to find you for that purpose. And so one of the things that I do for my clients is I optimize all of their images with a formula that I have devised for years. From back in the blogging days, one of those little nuggets I took with me when I lost my blog, right? So when you're working with your website designer, if it's me, I've got you covered. I know exactly what that formula needs to be, but talk to them for sure. Or if it's you doing it yourself, come up with some terms that you feel that your perfect client in your area would probably use to find you. And then name your images accordingly. It doesn't have to be so specific as, black shirt. Like, it needs to be more about your specific offerings. So that's going to be one. Just don't let an image look pretty on a page. It needs to have a brain as well. And then just make sure, as you're going back and forth, whether it's with a website designer or on your own, you're looking on your phone. Like, you have to see if it's working on your phone, what it looks like. When I'm designing websites, I'm designing the mobile site completely different than the desktop in a lot of cases, because we use our phones differently than a desktop, right? And so that's going to be key. And then just no dated material. That for me is a big one. Like, things from yesterday might not be cool today. And so you need to make sure that you are, as hard as it is to find that time for us to work on our own stuff, you really do need to like make sure that your website is not making you go, oh man, that was a terrible, whatever it is. If you don't want to look at it anymore, your clients definitely don't want to look at it.
Yeah, no. And I love that so much. And I think that that's something that, like, to your point, like, we evolve as our business, our content should evolve, our images should, right, like, be like improved and refined upon, and like your brand should be, like revamped on a regular basis. And like that stuff matters. Like, we're actually in the middle of some rebranding, like a branding refresh right now with Business and Bubbly. And because stuff that I thought was cute last year, I'm like, all right, like time to refresh it.
Like with our clothes, every season we change our outfits. Like same is true. I think of a website as your business's outfit. Like, what is it going to wear this year? What does it need to look like? What's in, what's out? Same situation. A website these days is not just to find information about you. People are visual shoppers.
Yes.
They don't like what they're seeing. They're not going to read it.
Yeah. So good. I want to kind of go into this funny story of, and maybe you have some stories like this too, of when you do work with Heather, with someone on your website, maybe what to expect. And I say this because there was a gal that she was sharing with me one time about how she hired a website gal, and she all of a sudden, like, she had to give her copywriting, and she was like, no, like, she's just supposed to like make my website and make like, right, like put the words on
Write
there.
it too.
Know what I want on my website. And she was like, and she was charging me this, and so she should just like do it and make it all pretty. It's like, well, no, like, there are probably different package options as far as what is provided for you. But right, so as someone who's maybe listening to this and they're maybe wanting to work with someone like you for a brand or website refresh, maybe setting some expectations of saying like, oh, I just want to hire Heather and here, do my website. And then you're like, perfect. Now I need images, I need copywriting, I need this and this and this, right? Like, what are some of those things what it looks like to work with a web designer that maybe people don't necessarily understand, and they just think, oh, like, she's just going to make it pretty and perfect and find whatever she wants on the internet and then write whatever she wants about my business. And it's like,
sure. Just throw that in the bowl, just keep mixing it up. So yes, I can only speak for me. There's what I call kind of tech-minded website designers who you are literally going to be like, I want this picture here, I want this, and they will essentially code it for you. That is complete opposite of me. So while I don't write copy, it's a really good point. I use copywriters for that, or I have my clients send me what they have. And then if I see something that needs a little zhuzhing, like, I'll zhuzh. But what I do is very different from a tech-minded website designer. I am a true creative. I love creating. I love getting my hands dirty. I love disappearing into like a creative cave, blacking out, coming to and being like, what did I make? Do I like it? Do I hate it? What's happening? So for me, like, and for most creative website designers, no, we won't write copy for you. We won't create your images unless it's one of my special local clients that I'm more than happy to go and take pictures of their business stuff. But for me, you'll get a little batch of homework, pictures, logo files, font names, if you know them, wording for your website. And then for me personally, I like my clients to trust me. So trust is on that list too. Don't micromanage me, like, trust me to do my job, knowing that I'm never going to launch your website without you loving it. Like, it's not going to be like, I'm going to build something for you, you just sit tight and here it is. This is what you're getting. It's leave me alone for a bit. then it becomes collaborative, then it becomes nitpicky, and then it goes up on the website or the internet. So for me and most creative website designers, that's pretty much what you can expect. And I'm not saying anything bad about the technical mind ones, but if you have a creative business and it's, you know that visually you want to sell it, I would say I probably favor more creative minded website designers for that. Just because I think that they get a little bit more emotionally involved, I would say, in the scope of the project.
Yeah. Well, I love that even the differentiation of what you just said, like there are people that are like, they are the tech person, they're going to be able to have the buttons click and they're, like, and the whatever, and the connect to the Stripe and the all the other things they connect to sometimes. And then there are the creatives like you, where it's like, no, we're going to make it look good. And your people are going to think it looks good. And you're going to know it looks good. And there's a big difference between those type of website creators, funnel builders, that type of a thing. So it's really good to know what it is that you want for your website and who you're hiring and the result.
I get involved. Like I get truly emotionally involved in my projects because I want them to work. If your website works, that means something I did worked, which means you might go brag about how awesome I am to people, and then it brings in more business. So I'm very invested in the websites I create.
I love that. And I have no doubt just the way that you are with people and just the great things that I've heard about you and even what little I know of you. I can tell that you put your whole heart into something, and it shows in the results and the beautiful websites that you build. So how can people find you and follow you and see all of the fun things that you are up to? And if they're wanting either a website refresh or just a way better website, how can they find you?
Well, first of all, thank you for what you just said. That was very nice. It made me feel good. I feel the same about you. I love working with you and all the things. So my business name is inspired by losing my wedding blog, which is The Editor's Touch. I kind of took that piece of being a wedding blog editor. I gave it my spin. So my website is theeditorstouch.com. And on Instagram, I have 2 accounts. I have one I live in Boise, Idaho. And so my local one is That Boise Girl. And then for just national, international clients, I am Editor's Touch on Instagram. So those are my spots.
I love it. Well, Heather, thank you so much for your time and just for sharing your expertise. And you guys, we'll make sure to have everything in the show notes, but reach out to Heather if you have questions. She is not only a wealth of knowledge, but a gem of a person, and you will not be sorry that you connected with her. So Heather, thanks for being here.
Thank you, Charity, for having me.
Thank you so much for listening to the show. I hope it brought some value and some fun into your business and life. Remember to rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast, and even share the episode with a fellow business bestie who you know will love it. It helps us continue to attract top-level guests and reach more and more women who are on their journey in business just like you. Remember that when money gets in the hands of good women, great things happen. Cheers to your success.